Welcome to this IELTS listening practice test. There are 4 sections and 40 questions in total. Each recording is played only once. You'll have time to read the questions before each part and check your answers afterward. At the end, you'll get 10 minutes to transfer your answers. Get ready with a pen and paper. Now let's begin section 1.
Part 1. You will hear 2 people talking about a survey on local transport. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Hello.
Oh, hello. My name's Sue Brown. I'm a second-year student. I'm doing business studies. I've got an assignment to do for my marketing course, and I was wondering if you could help me. It's about transport, and I have to interview a few people about their local transport system.
Okay.
I'm sorry to call you at dinner time, but I really find it difficult to get time to do this.
No, that's fine, as long as it doesn't take long.
No. It won't take long at all. So, first of all, can I just check a few details about you?
Sure.
Okay. If I can just start by taking your name. It's Martin, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Martin. Could you give me your full name, please?
Yes, it's Martin Harris.
Is that Harris?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, thank you. Can I have your contact number?
Oh, sure, it's 6961273.
6961372?
No, 1273.
Got it. Thanks. And can I have your address?
It's 22 North Avenue in Newbridge.
Oh, right, I know that area. It's a nice part of town.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and can I just ask what your job is?
I work in a bank, in the center of town.
Oh, I'm sure that must be very interesting.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'd like to ask you a few questions about the bus system. Now, do you live near your workplace?
No, I live in the town center, so I have to commute.
And how do you get to work?
Well, I don't often catch the bus to go to work. I usually drive my car. I only use the bus if I have to go to the shops, to buy food or clothes or things like that.
Okay, so, do you think the bus service is good?
Well, they're okay, but I think they're quite crowded most of the time, especially in the mornings and evenings. It's hard to find a seat.
Right, yes, I know what you mean. So, how do you think the service could be improved?
Well, I think they should have more buses, especially during rush hours. That would make things a lot easier.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you'll have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Okay, now I'd like to ask you a few questions about cycling. Do you have a bike?
Oh yes, I do. I go cycling quite often, especially at weekends.
So, what do you think about the cycle lanes in the city? Do you think there are enough?
Oh no, there aren't. There are very few cycle lanes in the city. I think they should have more because cycling is a great way of getting around. It's much better than using the car, especially for short journeys. And, of course, it doesn't pollute the air.
Yes, that's true. So, do you think any other bike facilities should be improved?
Definitely. There should be more lanes for cyclists, and they should also provide a detailed map showing the best bike routes around the city. That would be really useful.
That's a great idea. Now, what about walking? Do you think the city is pedestrian-friendly?
Not really. I think they should have more pedestrian crossings and maybe even introduce a few pedestrian-only zones in busy areas. That would make it safer and more pleasant for people walking.
Yes, I agree. Just one last question. How much does a monthly bus pass cost here?
Oh, it's £45 per month. I think that's a bit expensive for some people.
Oh, I see. Well, thanks very much for your time. You've been very helpful.
That's okay. Bye.
Bye.
That is the end of part 1. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 1. Now move to part 2. Part 2. You will hear a woman giving a talk about the evolution of automobiles, their impact on urban life and the environment, and potential solutions to reduce car dependency. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Welcome to today's discussion on one of the most significant innovations in human history, the motor car. But before we dive into that, let's go back even further. The invention of the wheel was a major shift in how transportation functioned, enabling the creation of carts and wagons. It revolutionized the way goods and people were moved, and was undoubtedly a groundbreaking advancement many centuries ago. Some might argue that the biggest change came much later, with the rise of industrial transport systems, but the wheel itself was the foundation of modern mobility. Fast forward to the early 1900s, and the automobile became a dominant mode of transportation. During this period, cars rapidly took over from traditional means of travel, with many people choosing them over horse-drawn carriages and bicycles. Not only did cars gain widespread popularity, but they actually replaced many other transport options altogether. Some suggest that what made them unique was their engineering, but their ability to fully displace older methods is what made them stand out. Now, you may be wondering how this discussion fits into our larger series. Today's program expands upon an earlier discussion I had on transport, where I explored various historical changes in how people get around. This episode is one part of a larger exploration of transport evolution, focusing specifically on automobiles. Some may expect us to cover global transport methods today, but we are instead honing in on a single crucial aspect: the rise and impact of cars. One major issue we face today with cars in urban areas is severe congestion. With more and more vehicles on the road, traffic has become a daily struggle, leading to longer travel times and frustration. Although financial costs and safety concerns are also growing problems, the most immediate challenge is excessive road congestion. Some would argue that higher expenses are the key issue, while others believe that the dangers of driving outweigh all other concerns. But the sheer volume of cars in cities causes the greatest difficulty. Speaking of challenges, let's talk about the environmental consequences of widespread car usage. Many argue that modern vehicles are much more durable and efficient than in the past, but the bigger concern is their global impact on the environment. For instance, consider a massive oil tanker transporting fuel across the world. It demonstrates the serious damage that car emissions contribute on an international scale. Some people claim that cars today are not as harmful as they once were, while others believe the real problem is how they are manufactured. But in reality, their carbon footprint remains a major issue.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you'll have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
As we consider the challenges caused by increasing car usage, it's crucial to explore strategies that could help reduce vehicle dependence in urban areas. One effective approach is to establish zones where cars are restricted, allowing only pedestrians and cyclists to move freely. This can significantly cut harmful emissions and improve urban air quality. By creating these spaces, we can limit the impact of vehicle exhaust, ensuring cleaner and healthier city environments. Another pressing concern is the cost of fuel and its availability. Many argue that making fuel more affordable would ease the financial burden on drivers, but the real issue lies in ensuring diverse and sustainable energy sources for transportation. If people have access to alternative fuels, such as biofuels or electric charging stations, reliance on conventional petrol and diesel could decrease, leading to a more sustainable transport system. Car-sharing initiatives are another practical solution to reduce congestion. Encouraging people to share rides instead of driving alone can help cut the number of vehicles on the road. With fewer cars in circulation, there will be less strain on road infrastructure and lower overall travel expenses, making transport more economical for everyone. One factor often overlooked is how work schedules affect traffic flow. If companies allowed employees to adjust their working hours, fewer people would need to travel during peak times. This would lead to smoother traffic movement and reduced travel time, benefiting both commuters and city planners. By spreading out road usage throughout the day, we can create a more efficient and less stressful urban transport system. Finally, enhancing public transportation networks is essential for reducing reliance on personal vehicles. Expanding and upgrading bus and train services, making them more reliable and comfortable, would encourage people to use them more frequently. Additionally, addressing noise pollution caused by heavy traffic can make public transport a more pleasant alternative, attracting even more users and easing congestion further. By implementing these measures, cities can take meaningful steps toward a more sustainable and efficient transportation system, benefiting both people and the environment.
That is the end of part 2. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 2. Part 3. You will hear two students, Nina and James, discussing different type of work. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
So, James, have you thought about getting a part-time job? I was looking into a few options, and there are actually quite a lot out there.
Yeah, I have. I think working in retail might be a good choice. You get to meet people, and some stores offer employee discounts, which is a nice perk. Yeah, that's a fair point. What about waiting tables? Some of my friends do it, and they make pretty good tips.
True, but I heard retail jobs can be exhausting, especially during sales seasons. You're on your feet all day dealing with customers. I've thought about that too, but I feel like it can be really stressful, especially during busy hours. Plus, dealing with rude customers doesn't sound fun.
That's true. What about babysitting? It pays well, and if the kids are easy to handle, it's not too bad.
Yeah, but it depends on the family. Some kids are a nightmare. You could end up with a toddler who throws tantrums for hours, or a preteen who's glued to their phone and ignores everything you say. Plus, you need to be super responsible. What if they get hurt? Or what if someone breaks in the house while you're there? It can be a lot of pressure. That's why I think freelance work is a great alternative, like writing or graphic design. You can work from home and set your own schedule.
That sounds great, but don't you need experience for that?
Not always. You can start small, like writing blog posts or designing simple posters. There are tons of online platforms for beginners.
That's interesting. What about tutoring? I know some students who make good money helping younger kids with math or English.
Tutoring is a solid option, especially if you have a knack for explaining things, such as difficult math formulas or abstract ideologies. It also gives you a chance to practice good on college applications.
Yeah, that's true. So, what do you think you'll go for?
I'm leaning towards freelance work or tutoring. What about you?
I think I'll try retail first and see how it goes. If it's too tiring, maybe I'll switch to tutoring.
Sounds like a plan. Let's see where we end up in a few months.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you'll have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
So, James, have you thought any more about your options after you leave college? Or are you planning to stay on for another year?
No, I'll finish this year. I've got a place on a training program for treasury analysts in a bank. I'm really pleased about that.
Congrats. I was worried I might not find anything after I left college, especially with the current economic problems. So, do you think you'll stay there for a long time?
That's my intention, yes. I'm sure I'll stay there for quite a while. I'd like to work my way up to a senior management position. I actually read this book last week about the importance of having a clear career plan in mind, even if you're just starting out. What about you? What are your plans?
I'm still not sure. I've got a place on a course next year, which I'd like to do. It's a tour guide training course which teaches you the ins and outs of the tourism industry, including marketing, customer service, and tour planning. I'd really love to do it, but it's in Hong Kong.
I really think you should go for it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, you know? Why pass it up? Although, I guess getting the visa could be a pain. Should you wait until you have it in hand? You won't even get off the plane without it.
Actually, I can apply for a student visa, and it should only take a day or two. Hong Kong immigration is super efficient. I'm more worried about my driving license, to be honest. I've been putting it off, but I heard you need an international one to drive there.
Nah, you'll be fine. Everyone just takes the subway. Plus, cars are crazy expensive there, so most people don't even bother to get a driving license. When does the course start anyway?
July next year.
Perfect. That means you'll have plenty of time to finish your university degree. I think that's the most important thing, really.
You're right, I should really go study for my final exams now. See you later.
That is the end of part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 3.
You will hear a man giving a talk about antibiotics. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Green, and I'm going to talk to you today about antibiotics. Antibiotics are medicines that are used to treat bacterial infections. They're sometimes called antibacterials. They work by killing bacteria or preventing them from spreading, resulting in sicknesses or damaged immune system. This helps the body's natural immune system to fight the bacterial infection. Some common diseases, typically treated with antibiotics, can be tuberculosis or pneumonia. The first antibiotic was penicillin, discovered by Alexander Fleming in 1928. He was growing bacteria in dishes in his laboratory, and he found that one of the dishes had become contaminated with a fungus. He noticed that the bacteria around the fungus started to die off. So he carried out some tests on the fungus and discovered that it was producing a substance that was killing the bacteria. He called this substance penicillin, and it was the first antibiotic. Fleming published a paper on penicillin in 1929, but at the time it was very difficult to produce penicillin in large amounts, so nobody was interested in taking it further. Then, in 1938, two scientists in Oxford, Howard Florey and Ernst Chain, came across Fleming's paper and decided to try and produce penicillin in large quantities. The first thing they had to do was to obtain some of the fungus that produces penicillin, so they wrote to Fleming and he sent them some. They managed to produce enough penicillin to test it on mice. They infected the mice with bacteria and then gave half of them penicillin. The mice that were given penicillin survived, but the others died. Florey and Chain wanted to test penicillin on humans, but they could only produce very small amounts of it. They managed to treat one man who was dying of an infection, and he began to recover, but then they ran out of penicillin, and he died. However, they had shown that penicillin could be used to treat infections in humans. Florey realized that in order to produce penicillin in large quantities, he would need help from a drug company. He went to the United States to try and find one that was willing to help, and he managed to get a company called to produce penicillin for them. In 1944, they had enough penicillin to test it on a group of patients. The tests were successful, but they still didn't have enough penicillin to treat patients on a large scale. Then, in December 1941, the United States entered the Second World War, and the government realized that penicillin could be useful for treating soldiers who were injured in combat. They gave Florey and Chain a grant to enable them to work with more drug companies to produce penicillin on a large scale. By 1944, there was enough penicillin to treat all those who were wounded in the D-Day invasion of Europe. The discovery of penicillin led to the development of many other antibiotics. However, there are two problems with antibiotics. The first is that they don't work on viruses, so they can't be used to treat illnesses like flu or the common cold. The second problem is that bacteria can become resistant to antibiotics. This happens when antibiotics are used too often, or when patients don't complete the full course of antibiotics, which should last 5 to 7 days. In these cases, some bacteria in our bodies can survive and develop resistance to the antibiotics without our knowledge, so they are no longer effective in treating infections. In recent years, scientists have been developing new antibiotics to deal with resistant bacteria. However, this is a very slow process, and there are now some bacterial infections that cannot be treated with any known antibiotic. This is a very serious problem, and it's important that antibiotics are used carefully and only when necessary. The development of new antibiotics is a complex and lengthy undertaking. Researchers must identify novel compounds with antibacterial properties, test them rigorously for potency, that is, whether it can effectively kill the most stubborn bacteria, and safety, as in, does it kill what it needs to kill, or can it become lethal for human consumption? This can take many years, even decades, and involves significant financial investment. Furthermore, even when a new antibiotic is developed, its effectiveness may be short-lived, as bacteria can develop resistance to it relatively quickly. This creates a constant arms race between bacteria and scientists, who have to work tirelessly to solve new rising issues. The World Health Organization, WHO, has unequivocally stated that antibiotic resistance is a major threat to global health, a crisis that jeopardizes decades of progress in modern medicine and imperils the lives of millions. This isn't a distant problem for the future, it's happening right in front of our eyes. Okay, that's all I have to say about antibiotics. Does anyone have any questions?
That is the end of part 4. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 4.
That is the end of the listening section. You now have 2 minutes to review your answers before the test automatically moves on to the next section. Please take this time to check your answers carefully. Make sure all your responses are recorded in the correct places, and review your spelling, grammar, and formatting. Once the time is up, the system will take you directly to the reading section. Please remain seated and stay focused. The next section will begin shortly.